We are now at the point where we have opened up our R project, we have saved it, we have loaded an R script, and we have gotten our data from the Google Sheet that looks like this into R as a URL, and then we transform that URL into an actual variable that R can work with called diversity data. As you open up here, it's very condensed. It looks very similar to what was on the Google Sheet, and we can work with it now. So now that we have data that is up into R, we are going to turn it into a graph. So how we're going to do that is, as we talked about before, we need to load a package. And we load a package, and as again, as a reminder, when you put a hashtag and you type in things in, that's called a comment. It should be in green, as you see here, and that's basically just a note to yourself. So we need to load a package that allows us to plot data. And as I kind of said before, there's so much stuff that R can do that if it had every single tool and every single function that it could possibly do already kind of downloaded into the program, it would take forever to run something. So load packages to basically tell R, like, hey, this is what I need you to do for me, basically. And the command is library. So that's kind of the command that tells you to load a package. And the package that we're loading right now is ggplot2. This allows us to basically graph. So we're going to do library ggplot2, run. It turned out blue down here in the console, so that's great. So it worked. And now we're going to start working on our plot. So the first thing that we need to do is create a base layer. So create a plot base layer. Again, you always need to be writing comments just to remind yourself exactly what you're doing, because every single thing and every single project that you're going to do throughout the semester is based off of this first project. And it's really easy if you then reopen this R script. It tells you if you're basically walking yourself through exactly what you did. It's super helpful. So it may take a couple extra minutes, but again, it's a lot better taking the time to do this. So what you're going to do is you're type in ggplot. That's the command that basically how you graph. So the first thing that you write is the variable that you're pulling from. The variable that we're pulling from is diversity data. So we type in ggplot diversity data. As you see here, automatically popped up. You're going to do a comma. You're going to write AES. And then in the x-axis, so it's going to be x equals. Then the x-axis, we're doing site type. So that's our independent variable, site type. And then the y-axis, so you type in y equals diversity, because that's our independent variable. And then you're going to hit run. So as you see here, it's a blank graph or plot because we haven't put any data in it yet. We basically just set it up. And when you're doing this and you're setting up what the x-axis is going to be and what the y-axis is going to be, it's very important that you write it verbatim based on what is in the variable that you pulled off. So if I had written site type, but had it lowercase s and lowercase t, it wouldn't have worked. You need to have it absolutely perfect spelling, no extra spaces, and capitalization matters. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to add points to the base layer, to the plot. And we do this by using geom point. So this is what it's going to look like. So you're basically going to rewrite everything that you had before. So again, ggplot diversity data. Nope, no space. AES x equals site type, y equals diversity. And then you're going to do plus geom point in parentheses. So now we have our points. Again, you probably noticed me going pretty slow through all of this. And that's just because you need to type it absolutely perfectly. And if I had done diversity with a lowercase d, or if I spelled something wrong, I would have gotten an error. So I just highly suggest you guys going slow through this and taking your time. So now that we have the points on our plot, it's time to make box plots. So make box plot by using geom box plot. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste this time. We're just kind of keeping on adding and adding to this line of code. So we have so if we just kept it as is, it'd pop up looking like that. But since we want to turn these points into a box plot, we're doing plus geom underscore box plot parenthesis parenthesis. Hit run. Great, and now you have your box plot. So now we need to add some axis labels. Adding axis labels. So same as before, you're going to copy and paste everything back down below. But this time, you're going to do plus scale x discrete. So basically this is when you type in scale x discrete, that's telling you what to name the x-axis. And we're going to do name equals, and you want this in parentheses, conditions at site. And it's always important that when you are typing in your axes, you want your last name to be a part of the graph. And that's kind of how we know that you did your own work and you didn't copy and paste someone else's code. So my last name is Fenderson. And that's your x-axis. So we're going to hit run. And as you see here, if I move this up, you see this on the x-axis. And now what we're going to do is we need to add a y-axis name. So I'm just going to keep typing. So plus scale y continuous name equals a single quotation mark Simpsons diversity index. There we go, with the X. Click run. So now you see here we have our y-axis. So to kind of reiterate everything we typed in, what it means, ggplot is the function that tells R that we are going to be making a graph. Diversity data is telling R this is the data that we want to pull from. This is the data we want to use that's already stored within your project. AES, X equals and Y equals is telling you exactly which variables within the data set you want to use and which is the dependent, which is the independent variable. It's very important that you write those and type those in verbatim, including capitalization, spelling, etc. Geom point is telling R we're going to plot points. Geom box plot tells R that we want to make a box plot. And then scale x discrete is how to create the x-axis. Always make sure that you put your last name in there. And scale y continuous is how you put in a y-index. So once you do this correctly, you should come up with a graph that looks like this.